Hello, welcome to Verbling. I'm Teacher Oakley. For the next hour here on Verbling, and actually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, this week at this time slot, or at least my time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we are going to be looking at modal verbs. Today, specifically, we'll be looking at modal verbs which we use to show obligation and permission. Modal verbs are words like could, should, would, can, might, may, and they have different functions in English, one of which we'll be looking at today: obligation and permission, to ask for permission and to grant permission, or to show degree of obligation. That's our focus today. Later in the week, we'll be looking at how we use modals to talk about probability, and also how to talk about past hypothetical situations. That's coming up later in the week. Today, we're going to talk about obligation and permission, how we ask for things, and show our degree of responsibility. Okay. Hello, Heidi. How are you today?
Hello, nice to see you again. Japan is very good. Weather is very good. How about you? Maybe the typhoon attacking, right?
Well, there was a typhoon this weekend. Well, yesterday. In my area, it just kind of brushed through my area. Yesterday was very rainy, gusty winds, but nothing life-threatening. No floods. Yeah, we the last couple of weeks we've had flooding because of torrential rainstorms, which was much worse than yesterday. Actually, yesterday was a piece of cake. Nothing here where I live, anyway.
Yeah, always it happens flood or blackout.
Yeah, we didn't even lose power. We haven't even where I live. We haven't even lost power. So piece of cake here.
Good.
Yeah. Right. Okay, well, a whole bunch of other folks have joined us, so let me do a quick microphone check and welcome them. Hogan, hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you again.
Me too.
Likewise. Daniel, welcome to the class. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, good to see you. How's it going?
It's going. It's going. Thanks. Okay. Masahira, good to see you again. Hi, Masa. How are you today? Masa?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Good to see you.
Done good, loud and clear. Terrific. Hello, Misun.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
Fine, good. I'm good. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay, and I'd also like to welcome Marcus. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, okay. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Okay. And Jesus. Hi, Jesus. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, teacher.
Hi.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Let's get started. Again, every other day I'll be doing a class this week on modals at this particular time slot. Starting today, obligation and permission. So I'm going to do a screen share and start to talk to you guys about these specific modals of obligation and permission. All right. Here we go. Okay. The modal verbs are, well, here are some of them. Can, could, may, might, shall. All right. Should, will, would. We can really add some phrasal modals like need to and have to. These are also considered modals. Obviously, they're phrasal because they're more than one word. We may be looking at these as well. Modal verbs have many functions, one of which is to express obligation and permission. We're going to concentrate on that today. First of all, modals to talk about ability. We'll look at first. First of all, we're going to look at can. When we use the modal verb can, basically modal verbs act somewhat, not exactly, but they kind of act somewhat like auxiliary verbs, which we use as helper verbs to show verb tense. Modals are a little bit different. You will notice that the modal verbs are followed by the infinitive form of the verb without to. We can't use we can't use like a past tense. She can speak several languages. We can't use different verb tenses. We also notice she can speak different languages. I can speak different languages. They can speak different languages. Notice we don't need to conjugate the verb, even though it's present simple tense as well. So I speak, she speaks with an S, they speak. We don't have to worry about that either. So the actual construction with any modal is very straightforward. All right, first, can to show someone's skill or general abilities, physical abilities, or mental, learned, educated abilities, whatever, either way. He can swim like a fish. They can't dance very well. One important note, okay, we use can to talk about the ability to do something at a given time in the present or the future. This is important because we use a different modal for the past. The past tense of can is could. Another important point, and I'd like to hear you guys try this, make up your own content or material. Looking at first this modal can and can't. And another important aspect is in spoken language to recognize that can, the positive, is greatly reduced in spoken English. It basically gets reduced to what's called the schwa sound, the very basic So it's going to kind of sound like a very fast can. She can speak several languages. He can swim like a fish. As opposed to the negative can't, which is going to have, it's going to have full pronunciation of the A vowel sound, the ah. It's also going to be spoken with a higher pitch. They can't dance very well. So as to draw attention, draw focus, you stress the word. All right. This is so that the listener can differentiate the difference between the overpronounced can't and the very underpronounced can. I'd like to hear you guys try this. So, as an example, I'd like to go around the room and have you guys try a sentence. You can make up your own sentences, whatever. Something like this, as an example. Just something simple, so I can hear you pronounce can and can't. For example, I can sing, but I can't dance. That's it. Heidi, you want to try it? What can you do and what can't you do? A sentence with a can and a can't.
I can pedal bicycle very fast.
Okay, but what can't you do?
But I can't swim well.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I can pedal, but I can't sing. All right, that's the idea. Very good, thank you. Hogan, what can you do?
Yeah.
What can't you do?
I can dance, but I can't dance very well.
Okay.
I cheated.
Right. No, that's fine. That's perfect. I just want to hear you guys pronouncing the modal properly. Daniel, what can you do? What can't you do?
Um, I can fly, but
Yeah.
I can't walk.
I can fly. Notice, all right, the can is also closely joined to the verb. I can sing, I can dance, I can fly. All right. All right, great, thank you. Masa, give it a try.
Okay. I cannot still make a presentation well.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
What can you do?
Sorry.
You said I cannot do
Yeah,
a presentation well? Okay.
I can't still make a presentation well.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Hang on a second. All right. Is this what you said? Did you say I can? First time you said cannot. Second time you
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
okay. Either way. Okay. Either way. Either way, the I can put these together. Either way, can't or cannot, full form cannot, it will be stressed. Okay, one note here, Masa. You've added an adverb, still, which, okay, in ordinary English, your placement of the adverb in front of the main verb is correct, and that's great. But it would sound a little better here to move it in front of the negative. I still can't dance, like that. All right. So that's one little correction. Okay, with our adverbs that show frequency or time related, should be in front of the can't there. But all right, Masa, you still cannot make a presentation well. Notice I still stress cannot. What can you do?
You mean if I say cannot, the stress location stress location could be moved to another location?
Well, in your sentence here, honestly, it would be very ordinary to, and it's very ordinary when you use adverbs to modify the verb. It's very ordinary to stress the adverb. I still cannot make a presentation well. All right, that would be a very ordinary way to speak it. All right, interesting. I still dance. I still can dance. Even positive or negative, it would be very normal to emphasize the adverb, actually. All right. But you told me what you can't do. What can you do? Notice when I ask you the question, because it's a correction or it's contrary or contrasting. All right. I'm stressing. What can you do? All right. You told me what you can't do. What can you do?
What can you do?
Yeah. Because I'm asking, because it's a contrast. Now I'm actually stressing can. So there will be times when you stress the word can, if it's a correction, for example.
Probably cannot.
Can. Yeah, I want you to use can in a sentence. Is basically what I'm asking.
If I say cannot, cannot, we must add the stress to not the negative.
Yeah, I cannot make a presentation well.
I cannot
get rid of still. That's it.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So what can you do? So I can hear you pronounce or stress or unstress. Can. Masa, what can you do? What can you do?
Should I contrast cannot and can't?
If you want,
should I compare?
if you want to. At this point, I just want to hear you use the word can. That's all I want.
I still can't make a presentation well.
Okay.
I still cannot make a presentation well.
Okay. Still negative. Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can't say can. Yeah, I don't know why. Okay. I give up. I surrender. Okay. Never mind. All right, I'm gonna move on. Meeson, can you? All right. Give me talk to me about what you can and can't do.
Yes, I can swim, but I can't run.
You can't run. Okay, that's perfect. I can swim, very short, very closely joined with the next verb. That's perfect. Marcus, what can you do? What can't you do?
Okay, I can walk, but I can't run.
Okay, you could definitely reduce can. I can. It doesn't even have an A sound. I can. I can
Okay.
walk. All right, but I can't run. All right. Definitely, you might want to try reducing the can a little bit. Jesus, can you try it out?
Okay, I can cook eggs, but I can't cook lasagna.
Okay. Again, you could reduce the can a little bit. I can cook eggs. I can cook. I can cook. Can cook. Sounds like a one word, actually. All right. Nader, hi. Welcome to the class.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What can you do? What can't you do?
I can do my best.
Great.
But I can guarantee success.
Oh, that's great. But all right, but I can, even though your T was underpronounced, I can recognize it as can't, the negative, because of your high pitch. All right? And actually, native speakers do that frequently. But I can't guarantee, sometimes that T is way underpronounced. But even if it is, because of the high pitch, the stretch sound, the full vowel, we can tell the difference. Okay, thank you everyone for that. And the thing is, with all of our modals, we have negatives. Couldn't, mightn't, or many of them have shouldn't, won't, wouldn't. Okay, they all have negative versions, and the same thing holds true in speaking for all of the modals when they're negative. We're going to stress that word in the sentence to make sure that it's understood. Okay. Could is used to talk about the past. It's the same as can. She could speak several languages. They couldn't dance very well. All right. Simple past tense of can is couldn't. Could or couldn't. They couldn't dance very well. She could speak several languages. Notice even with could and couldn't, there's more emphasis on the negative. Could have is used to say someone had the ability or opportunity to do something, but they did not do it. Okay, this is called a perfect modal. We'll be discussing this later in the week in much more detail. But perfect modals are used to talk about modals in the past. The idea here is that they had the ability to do something, but didn't do it. For example, she could have learned Swahili, but she didn't have time. All right. Okay. The opportunity or the ability was there, but it is also instantly understood by the listener, but that this person did not do the action. I could have danced all night. I could have danced all night. I think that's a song, but anyway, the concept is that this thing did not happen. The person had the physical ability or the will or the opportunity, or maybe all of them, but they didn't do it. All right. Can and could. All right. We use can and could. They can be used for other purposes as modals, but keep in mind that can and could have this underlying idea always of an ability or opportunity, a chance, kind of like one of, possibly when we're using it, it may be one of many abilities or opportunities. Even when we use it to show probability, okay, it's less talking about a percentage of probability than actually an opportunity or ability. All right. Moving on to our next area to look at is permission. Very common to use can for permission. Can I ask a question, please? Can we go home now? Whoops. Obviously, that needs a question mark. Okay. In general, could is also used in the same way. Now, when we're asking permission, could is not, you're not talking about the past here. All right. When we use it for ability, then present, past. When we're asking for permission, we're asking for permission, present, future. All right. Could is more formal and more polite, a little bit, not to any giant degree. No one basically. Can is very informal. Could is slightly more formal. The difference between these, there's no difference in meaning. Can I ask a question, please? Could I ask a question, please? There's no difference in meaning. May is more formal than either of the above. Can is the very informal conversational way to ask permission. Can I open a window? It's hot in here. May is a much more formal way, polite. Again, the same thing. May I ask a question, please? May we go home now? Okay, again, there's really no difference in meaning. Just one conveys more politeness. We can also use can to give permission. You can go home now if you like. You can borrow my pen if you like. Now, here is where, okay, you can't use could. You could go home now if you like. Now you're suddenly sounding like you're talking about opportunity or ability. All right, to give permission, you really can't use could. Excuse me. English speakers would automatically more or less assume that you're talking about you have the opportunity. You could go home now if you like. Okay, you have a chance to do so, or you have the physical capability to do so. So it really would change the meaning entirely. So to give permission, you can't use could. However, you certainly can use may, and may is definitely more formal, polite way of giving permission. You may go home now if you like. Okay. All right. We can also use can to say that someone has permission to do something. We can go out whenever we want. Students can travel for free. And same thing with may. Students may travel for free. Usually, for example, written English, if there's, I don't know, some kind of guidebook or perhaps something like an employee handbook, all right, any kind of written permission given formally you would definitely probably see may. I mean, you most certainly would see may, but not can. It's definitely formal, spoken, and used more in writing. Masa is asking a very good question. May not. Can you shorten may not? Can you use the contraction? No, there isn't mayn't. Nope, Masa doesn't exist in English. Strangely enough, I mean, we contract everything else, but it just doesn't exist. So no.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So students may not travel free. Yes, there is a negative version, and you certainly may say may not. No, in Hogan, it's not even grammatically correct. I've never even seen it spelt before. Spelled. Okay, either one. So no, strangely enough, it doesn't really exist.
Actually, I look up this main on the Google. I have seen a little some information, lots of information. Main is correct.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, but certainly I've never had it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I guess it is technically correct. I have never heard anybody use it in my entire life. I have never even seen it written in a novel, even in a dialogue.
Okay, thank you so much.
I personally will never ever use it because it sounds weird.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. All right. Well, okay. Fine. I stand corrected. It is technically correct. My advice, don't ever use it because people won't even know what you're saying. All right. Okay. Mayn't. Yeah. Okay. I stand corrected. Okay. I want to try a little exercise asking for permission to do something. Okay. Heidi, could you ask permission for something? You can use any of the modals that we looked at. Just
permission.
Okay. Yeah.
May I stay at your house when I go to Philippines?
Sure. Why not? Sure you may. Okay. There's another way to answer. All right. Sure you may. Sure you can. More informally. Okay. Very good. Hogan, can you ask permission for something? Use any of the ways that, or if you can think of another way.
May I use my camera when I am taking your classes?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just practicing. I never turn it on my camera.
Okay. Whatever. You may do what you like. Okay. Daniel, can you try asking permission? One of the ways that we looked at, or if you can think of another way, we can talk about
it. Without using may?
Well, you can use may or can or could, or if you can think of another way to ask for permission, go ahead.
Could you borrow me your Lamborghini?
Okay. Hang on a second. All right, using could. Could you, however, we can't say borrow me. You got it backwards. Lend me.
Yeah.
Your Lamborghini. I don't know how to spell Lamborghini. Is that right? No. I don't know how to spell Lamborghini. Oh.
Me neither, but it sounds right.
Oh, there you go. I got it. My Microsoft knows how to spell it. Of course they do. Bill Gates probably has a Lamborghini. All right. Anyway, Thank you. Very good. Could you lend me your Lamborghini? All right. Be careful about permission and lend and borrow. I lend you my Lamborghini. You borrow my Lamborghini. All right. All right. Masa, you wanna go ahead and try asking permission for something? Any way you know
Okay.
how.
Okay. Would you could you please could you please buy the Lamborghini using your money?
Could I please? No, I can't. Okay, how to answer negatively? No, I cannot. There's not a chance. I'm terribly sorry. No, I can't afford a Lamborghini. Okay, notice that I would respond with a negative. All right. All right. I don't have the ability. Also, notice I don't say no. I may not buy a Lamborghini. Okay, that's permission. I'm answering that I do not have the ability to buy a Lamborghini. All right, so I have to use can't here. I can't use any other form to answer his question. No, I can't possibly buy a Lamborghini. There's no chance. Okay, thank you. All right, that was useful. Meeson, ask permission for something.
Yeah. Could I close this door?
Okay. Sure. Okay. Well, all right. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's common to say, you know, could I close this door, please? But sure, that's okay. All right. Marcus, you want to ask permission for something, please? Could you ask permission for something, please?
Okay. May I answer your question?
Apparently you may. Yeah. Okay. Apparently you can. All right. Well, yeah. Very good. Yeah, you got it. Jesus, can you try asking permission for something?
Yes. Could I have another slice of pizza?
Go ahead, help yourself. There's a common and useful phrase. Go ahead, help yourself. This is very, very common for English speakers. All right, it's such a question that a practical, very, very practical, ordinary question Jesus asked. Go ahead, help yourself. Very common response. All right, Nidair, you want to try asking permission?
Can I see you on Monday?
Sure. Here I am.
So, is there any difference between could and can? Could is more polite.
Is a little bit more polite, and may is even more polite still. May is generally used for when you're addressing somebody in authority, or perhaps a stranger or a customer, something like that. All right.
So, would is more polite than will, and could is more polite than can.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, now these aren't the only ways to ask. I was waiting to see if anybody would come up with an indirect question to ask for permission. These are all your examples, and the examples that we looked at in today's lesson so far have been direct questions. It is also possible to use indirect questions, something like, would you mind, for example, would you mind if I close the window? Something like that. Maybe, would it be all right if I whatever? Would it be all right if I left work early? Indirect questions, you're actually asking, would you mind, or would it be all right? Okay, is the direct part of the question. So What you really want, though, is to close the window or to leave work early. These are called indirect questions. These would be considered even more polite, really, than may, or at least, I don't know, same level of politeness at the very least. Okay, so these are also common when we're trying to be extra polite, and definitely possible.
I just got a question.
Sure, shoot.
I don't know if you explained that, but in that sentence, would you mind if I close the window? Why the verb close? It's on the past tense.
Okay. Well, it's yeah. Okay. It could be either. Strangely enough, it has to do with conditional sentences. Yeah, it probably should be present tense. Would you mind if I close the window? But past tense is not wrong. Would you mind if I close the window is a question form. If I close the window, would you mind? It's the question form, present tense. Here's why. Because I have would you. That's right. So actually, it is better with the past tense. Come to think of it, because I'm using would you mind. It's the second conditional to show basically I'm using this form. Not really. Usually the second conditional is unreal. Well, okay, we can look at it from the perspective that I haven't closed the window yet, so it's unreal. Really, it's also because I'm using would. It's basically because the question's in the subjunctive mood, and we tend to use backshift, and we tend to use would because it's not real. Look, if I want to use present tense, okay, will you mind if I close the window? Now this is the real conditional, the first conditional. All right, we used present tense in the if clause. Present tense in the if clause, and then the future tense in the result clause. All right, but these two sentences, will you mind if I close the window, does not sound polite. It sounds a little strange. This one just sounds better. I'm just talking about my native speaker, how this sounds to me. I don't think it has anything to do with grammar. It's more colloquial. We just simply don't preface an indirect question with will you mind. It's possible. It makes grammatical sense. We just don't colloquially, normally, we just don't usually do it. We more often use would you mind, would it be possible to leave work early, the whole would sounds more polite than will. Okay, that's all. Does that answer your question, or did I just confuse you?
Actually, it does make sense, but it's a bit complicated, but it makes sense.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we're definitely gonna. There's a few preface to indirect questions with would, but we don't really. Would you mind? Would it be possible? Would it bother you? Blah blah blah. We generally gonna use
So,
those.
it's a conditional form.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's right.
So, for example, if I say instead of saying, I don't know if it's correct, but let's say I would say something like, would you mind if I ate your vegetables? Instead of ate, I would say eaten.
No, you should use ate, past tense. That was correct. Totally correct. Would you mind if I ate your vegetables? Was correct. Second condition.
Okay.
That was right. Okay. Okay.
I have a question. So
Okay.
you can also use like, do you mind? Like, do you mind if I close the window? Is it okay?
Do you mind if I close the window?
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
So what's the most common expression for native speakers?
Well,
So would
between
you
these
mind?
two,
Yeah.
that's a
So
good question.
which one is the most frequently used by the native speaker? I only want to know only one because I don't want to be confused.
These are almost interchangeable. I would consider "would you mind" as being slightly more formal and slightly, yeah. But do you mind is if I close the window? Either one, your pick, whichever you like.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay. And yes, that's another way of asking indirectly. Okay. All right. Instructions and requests. Could you and would you as polite ways of telling or asking someone to do something? Could you take a message, please? Would you carry this for me, please? Could I have my bill, please? All right. Again, either giving instructions or making a request. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. All right. Can and will, more direct, less polite. Can you take a message, please? Will you carry this for me, please? Okay. All right. Either of these, any of these are okay. Could you, would you? Again, more polite than can or will, which is much more direct, actually. As I was pointing out with will and would that's why will is much more direct and less polite. You don't. It sounds more like an order, command, than a request if you use will. And depending on your tone of voice and how you say it, your intonation will make it sound more request-like or more command-like as well. Generally, you want to be a polite person, stick with could you or would you. Could we have our check, please, in a restaurant is how I would say it. I wouldn't say, will you bring my check, please? It sounds just a little bit rude, frankly. Maybe can I have my check, please? That's fine. Okay, instructions and requests. Suggestions and advice. All right. This is where our modal should comes into play. All right. You should send an email. We should go by train. Okay. So this is very common to use should to give advice or to make suggestions. We can use could. It takes a little trick of intonation, however. We should meet at the weekend, all right? Suggestion. If I'm going to use could, we kind of do a little trick of intonation. We could meet at the weekend. Now here's kind of a little bit of an exception to what I was saying earlier in the class where I said that we normally emphasize negatives, negative contractions and negatives with modals. Here, a little trick of intonation, I would say it like, we could meet at the weekend, or you could eat out tonight. Notice I'm definitely stressing the could here. Basically, the meaning here, it's kind of a weaker form of advice, because when we say this, it has the element of it's a possibility. I'm offering a possibility. I'm really not advising you to do this. You could eat out tonight. I'm not saying you should eat out tonight. That's much stronger. You could eat out tonight is more like, here's a suggestion, not here's a suggestion I think you should do, which is what you're doing when you use should. So it's a little bit different. We can also use conditionals to give advice. Okay, notice what Daniel and I were discussing earlier also kind of holds true here. Notice the first conditional, present tense, if you ask him, it goes with will. All right. Dan will help you if you ask him. Okay, so we're staying true to our conditional forms here. And as I was trying to explain, past tenses are just deemed to be a little bit more polite. So here you go, Daniel. Daniel would help you if you asked him. Okay, so it is possible to use the first conditional to make suggestions or to give advice. But again, past tense is just generally more polite. Yeah, okay. All right. Any questions about using the conditional to make suggestions? Okay. Well, maybe we should try this out. All right. Give me some advice. In any of the ways that we looked at, let's try giving advice. Heidi, can you give me some advice about anything?
Advice to you?
Yeah, sure. About.
You should have gone to the doctor when you have gotten the flu.
Okay. You should have. Okay. Very good. Actually, I should write that down so you can see it. At least the first part. You should have gone to the doctor. Okay. Okay. Nothing wrong with the sentence, nothing wrong with the collocation, but of course, should have, once again, if you remember could have, should have, would have, these are past tense. So she's giving me advice about the past, what I should have done in the past. All right, nothing wrong with that, and I should have pointed that out before she did. All right, Hogan, give me some advice.
It would be very helpful if you talk slowly.
Okay.
Or if you slowed a little bit. I don't know. It would be very helpful if you slowed. Do I have to use past tense, like slowed?
Yes, yes, you did. Yes, you do.
Slowed a little bit.
Yes, you did. Sorry. Yes, you do have to use. Okay. If you talked slower, if you slowed down your speech, I don't know. You know, there's a lot of ways to say this. There's always more than.
Slowed down. Yeah. Okay. That might be better.
Yeah, we often use the phrasal verb form, especially when we're talking about speaking. Or physical, like running or walking. Slow down. What's your hurry? It's very common. Okay, that's fine. And yes, here you go, using the more polite second conditional form. Yeah, that's great. Very good. Good job. Okay, Daniel? Yeah. Give me some advice.
You should go easy on the booze. Your wife seems worried.
That's good. You should go easy. Okay. Yeah. Your wife seems worried. Okay. I like that too. All right. You're giving advice. You're giving a little bit of extra information to reinforce your advice. Yeah, this is very normal. Good English. All right. Great. That's a good one. Masa, give me some advice.
You should bought a Lamborghini at that time.
You should again. You should.
You should
have. Okay. All right. I wanted to make sure I was getting the have in there. Yes.
You should have bought a Lamborghini at that time.
Look at that. I remembered how to spell Lamborghini. I have learned something today. Okay. All right. You should have bought a Lamborghini. Notice. Okay. You should have bought a Lamborghini. All right. The past tense form again. Past advice. Very good. You know what? I almost forgot to point out that the phrasal modal ought to is used specifically for like should to give advice. All right, and you could substitute it for any of these where you're saying should. You ought to go easy on the booze. You ought to have bought a Lamborghini. Of course, ought to. Well, there's two syllables. It's phrasal. There's more going on there. So we generally speaking in English we use ought to. Direct synonym, direct substitution for should, positive. We rarely use ought to have or ought not to, just because it's more complicated to say and why bother. But you can also use ought to as a modal used to give advice or make suggestions.
Is it the same as using you oughta?
Yeah, well, it's pretty. Yeah,
you oughta go easy on the booze.
Yeah, you're right. It's always pronounced like that with a reduced pronunciation. Good point. Thank you. Forgot to mention that. Yeah, you oughta. Yeah, it's definitely reduced in pronunciation when we speak it. You ought to be careful. Yeah, like that. Meeson, go ahead. Give me some advice, please.
Do I use ought to?
You can use ought to, should.
Okay.
You can use a conditional, whatever floats your boat.
Okay. They could give you an advice if you ask them about your problem. They could.
Okay.
They could give you an advice if you ask them about your problem.
Okay. All right. Okay, one thing here. Most important thing here, advice is uncountable, always.
Okay.
There are no exceptions. So you can't count advice. You can't say he gave me 3 advices.
Okay.
If you want to make it countable, we normally use piece.
Mm-hmm.
A piece of advice.
Okay.
All right. They could give you advice if you ask them about your problem. Okay, well, this is a slightly different variant than we have looked at. It's basically, in the conditional form, second conditional, but you're using could instead of would. All right.
Okay. Yes, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's okay, but rather than saying kind of predictively something will happen, they would give you advice. You're saying, basically, you're almost saying maybe. It's a possibility they'll give you advice.
Okay.
So you got to be careful about using this form because you may not. You got to be careful about what you mean. You mean they will do it, or you mean there's a possibility they will do it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Possibility? Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All
right. Thank you. All right. Before we finish for today, let's look at offers and invitations. We can use can I to make offers. I'm sure we've all heard this. Can I help you? Thank you for calling ABC Company. How can I help you today? Can I do that for you? We can also use shall I. Shall I help you with that? Shall I call you on your mobile? Shall is maybe just a little bit more polite, a little bit more formal. You can get through life speaking English never using shall, frankly. I think Brits tend to use it a little bit more than Americans do. Other ways we can make offers is to, instead of forming a question, can I help you, actually using a statement form, I can, or I could, or I will. I can do that for you if you like. I can give you a lift to the station like that. Or with will, I'll do that for you if you like. I'll give you a lift to the station. Use of will, generally you do this when you just have the idea right now to make an offer for somebody. Okay, it's a little different. It's definitely different than if you have a plan to do this ahead of time. I am going to give you a lift to the station. You would use the am going to simple future tense instead of using will if it was a plan. So generally you make an offer, you can use will and it's perfectly okay, but the sort of underlying idea is that you just thought of this. You hadn't planned it in advance. Okay. All right, those are basically offers when you're offering. For invitations, we frequently use would. Excuse me. Would you like to come around tomorrow? Would you like another drink? Okay, very normal. This is the ordinary way to do it. Would you like another cookie? Would you like to take a rest? Whatever. Much more very polite and quite extremely formal way to speak. A little bit overly formal. You must come round and see us. We must meet again soon. Okay, you may hear, first time here we see must being used. It can be used for a very polite invitation in a very formal kind of setting. I don't know, something you would say to a priest, or I don't know, your in-laws who you just met, something like that. The president of your company, something on that lines. Ordinarily, we would, an invitation would use would. Okay, obligation and necessity. Must, of course, shows that it's necessary to do something. You must stop at a red light. You can wear what you like, but you must look neat and tidy. Oh, and it does have a negative form. I'm sorry, but you mustn't make any noise in here. Must has no past tense. None. There, it just doesn't exist. So if we need to talk about past tense, we're going to use the phrasal modal had to. By the way, you have to stop at the red light. Everyone has to bring something to eat. Okay. Have to can be used for must. Mustn't. Totally different if I say you don't have to make noise. Don't have to, the negative of have to, present tense, don't have to, means that there is no obligation to do something. Have to, 100% obligated. Don't have to means zero obligation. Must or mustn't is 100% that you, whatever, should or shouldn't do something. All right, past tense is had to. Everyone had to bring something to eat. We could wear what we like, but we had to look neat and tidy. So be careful with have to. Had to is the past tense to show obligation. All right, and remember there's a difference between have to and didn't have to. We didn't have to remove our shoes. We could if we wanted to, is the idea. All right, any questions about obligation? We're unfortunately about out of time. So I would like to thank you all for attending the class today. Hope you learned one or two things, and I'll see you guys again real soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.